Welcome back. We are clearly going to raise an objection, because in the previous part, we found the lion's pride here. We got information about it, which is like, oh, it looks all fine and lovely, but it's got a scorch mark on the back here, very, very badly burnt. And we know where there was a fire. We know where there was a fire. It's just very, very suspicious how she has it. Like, how do you have the lion's pride? It's gotta be connected to Galadeb, but how? I mean, that was clearly obvious because of the investigation, but... And we've also got, like, the end of this blade, like... Where oh where is the end of that blade? Where is the tip? I feel like that's significant as well. Somehow that's connected. But I don't know how just yet. But let's raise an objection.
Objection!
I'm not done yet. No, my learned friend. It's over. That last cross-examination was your final chance to establish a credible defense. And you failed. The die has been cast. There is no room for debate. Well, might be over as far as you're concerned, but... No, I can't think of what to say. If I may, Lord Van Zykes, it seems somewhat bullish to close down the debate at this point. Your insignificant little Eastern Isle must be a lawless hole indeed. For a lowly judicial assistant, have the audacity to intervene at a moment like this. Oh. I am, to my shame, still a very inexperienced lawyer. So you'll have to forgive me, but I consider my assistant's advice essential and her opinions invaluable. Mr. Naruhodo. One of this land's great guiding principles is tolerance. So the court will hear you, madam. Go ahead, Miss Suzuto. Please. Very well. Pray, what insight can you give us? What have we all overlooked in this matter that you see fit to pursue further? Well, the court has been presented with new evidence, but only after the last cross-examination finished. I see. And you believe that this new evidence warrants further examination, do you? Mr. Naruhodo, what do you think? It's just possible that this new evidence might be the decisive proof we've been waiting for. Yeah, the scorch mark. The judge is sure to ask the members of the jury to announce their meanings in a moment. And of course, he's sure to ask you to explain what the crucial piece of evidence is and why. So we must take this opportunity to examine the newly presented evidence as thoroughly as possible. Already done that. Yes, I understand. And thank you, Miss Suzuto. This is it. Sto-san has managed to win us one last chance here. We can't let it go to waste. The defense wishes to present evidence, my lord. Very well. The defense may present one further piece of evidence, just one. Evidence that apparently offers a profound insight into this case, and has hitherto been overlooked. It has to be the scorch mark, surely. Keep looking at this book, and every time I can't believe how badly burnt it is. And I can't believe what a terrible waste it is. The more I look at the damage, the more I'm sure it must have happened very recently too. Book damaged by fire very recently. Why does that seem significant somehow? Like, it's gotta be that.
Take that!
The evidence in question is what we can see from the newly presented photographic print of the crime scene. I mean, yeah, we could have done that as well, because you can see it there. The fourth book found in the victim's hand.
Objection!
We have already discussed the fourth book at length. Other than it being in the victim's grasp at the time of the incident, no significance has been attached to it. Pursuing the matter further would be a flagrant waste of the court's time, as you well know. Yes. Afraid, counsel, I must concur with the prosecution on this matter. And I afford you this opportunity. You led the court to believe that the evidence in question contained a hitherto undiscovered clue. So I must insist that you elaborate, counsel. You will identify this clue at once. Do I make myself clear? Oh, yes, my lord. It's, Mr. Naruhodo. I believe the prosecution is trying to avoid a thorough examination of the evidence, which means you may very well be on the right track. I think you might be right. We know we're on the right track. So, counsel, precisely where is this vital clue to this case, which this fourth book conceals? Alright, well, let's press it first rather than presenting it, because sometimes that does that. I'm badly damaged by fire here, so much so that you couldn't read it. Or anyone. That's right, such a pity. Do you see the flaking edges of the burnt pages, Mr. Naruhodo? I think that's a sure sign that the damage occurred relatively recently. Yes, book damage in a recent fire. Definitely rings a bell.
Got it!
Gory! I would ask the court to observe the back of the book in question. The back? What do you... Oh, good gracious. It's been burnt to a crisp. So we have to ask ourselves, why was the victim clutching what is clearly an unreadable book? It is undeniably an extremely unnatural thing for her to have been doing. Oh yes, quite.
Objection!
Unnatural, you say? And what of it, my Nipponese friend? Oh. Were I to concede the point, if it bears no relation to the case, there is nothing to discuss. So should you wish to assert this fire damage is some veiled clue as to what happened that day? Pray, do enlighten us all. What truth does this charred book hide? Charred book. There's just one possibility here, which I can't quite bring myself to rule out. It's an outside chance, certainly, but worth a try. Alright, I'll explain my theory. Don't keep us waiting any longer then, counsel. Explain this theory of yours. What are you suggesting that you can ascertain from the fire damage this sorry tomb has suffered? Its owner. My lord, the burn on the back of this book reveals startling truth about the book's owner. I beg your pardon, but we already know who the book belongs to. The victim was gripping it in her hand as she fell to the floor after all. It's obviously hers. The question of how this book came to be in the victim's hand has yet to be answered. However, as to the questions of who the book really belongs to and where it originated, the defense has very credible answers. Good gracious, how can you possibly... Very well, I'll play along with this futile attempt to delay your inevitable demise. But do remember, the members of the jury may well burn you if your little gamble goes awry. Counsel, the defense's response here is very likely to influence the final outcome of this trial. So tell the court, who do you claim is the owner of this burnt book? John Garadeb.
Take that!
The answer is that the book belongs to the couple who own the house where the defendant has his lodgings. A certain Mr. and Mrs. Garadeb. The landlords? And whether this is some extraordinary coincidence or some kind of fate at work, I don't know, but... For the people in London, one of the 6 chosen for jury duty is in the courtroom today. Yeah. Is none other than Miss Garadeb herself. Oh my goodness. Me? I think you must be mistaken, sir. I'm not Mr. Garadeb's wife. I'm his maid. Things would be so much easier if you would just drop the pretense. Alright then, how about a simple question for you? Have you ever seen this book in Mr. Garadeb's house? I would never presume to know all of the books he keeps, sir.
Objection!
This is outlandish behavior. This woman is the accused's landlady, you say? You implicate this hard-working member of the public. You besmirch her without a shred of evidence. Your actions are unforgivable.
Objection!
This is not mere conjecture. The defense happens to know that on the day in question, at almost exactly the same time as the victim was stabbed on the pavement below, another incident was taking place in the room on the top floor of Mr. and Mrs. Galadeb's house. Good lord. What sort of incident, counsel? A fire, my lord. I can only think of two possibilities here with everything going on. It's either one that she was actually here and was involved in this fight in some way and grabbed the lion's pride, and that feels like less likely. Why would you grab a book that was on fire and then leave? And then someone stabbed you in the back, probably one of these two. That's one theory. The other theory I've got is because stuff was being clearly thrown around, was the window open? They made it very clear the window wasn't open. But was the window open? The window would... They wouldn't have opened the window because it's cold winter nights and stuff like that. But if the place was on fire, you would open the window to let the smoke out. So were they just throwing stuff that was on fire out the window? And she was picking up the book. I can't examine the room because I'm thinking now, it's like, is there clearly a place where it's like, there's like a knife that's missing and there's a piece of metal there, like on the table or something like that? It's like, because maybe she was just throwing stuff at him because she was just throwing stuff at him. And maybe one of the things was a knife. Where's that piece of metal? Is it in this room and I just didn't notice it? So yeah, we've got two pieces of logic. Like, she does like of similar build and stature and stuff like that, so she could be their daughter or something like that. So yeah, I've got two competing theories in my head right now. Afraid to say it was. Happened in the blink of an eye, you know. A place filled with smoke. Yeah, there you go, there you go. Couldn't see a bally thing. Didn't take long for the fire to spread, of course. The bally furniture started going up as well. Most of it is, I lost my favourite. But called the lion's pride. The Lion's Pride. By Jove, the very same title that's the subject of this debate. Oh dear me.
Objection!
This is... risible? Risible? I've never heard that word before.
Risible.
Risible. Provoking laughter through being ludicrous. Fair enough, really, isn't it? Fair enough. This is risible. All you've told the court is that a book by the same name was involved in a fire. In which case, it would be reasonable to assume that it was burnt to ashes. Once it was thrown out the window, and entirely unreasonable to infer that it magically removed itself from the scene of the crime. Perhaps it would make more sense if I told you that the cause of the fire was marital discord. Without going into details, it appears that Mrs. Galadeb was considerably enraged. Apparently, she continued to attack Mr. Galadeb even amid the flames. I mean, that's just stupid though, isn't it? Oh, how awful. I can't even imagine being so horrid to the one you love. Can you roll it? Absolutely not, sir. My Patricia would never raise a finger against me, sir. Just that window. Had all my favourite old novels in that case. But as soon as the fire got hold of them, that was it. Whoosh! Up in smoke. It's the smoke significant. So I'm looking at the table now. It's like... is there like a missing knife? But why would you use a switchblade knife there? And And the wife started hurling things at me. Yeah, I'm thinking like one of the things she was she was throwing was maybe the book and a knife. Is there other things out there that are just on the street that we didn't notice? And there was I, back up against the window under heavy enemy fire, and sundry books incoming, 10 to dozen. I was next to the window. This is what happened then. They accidentally stabbed her in the back with something. Well, we know what with, but yeah, they accidentally stabbed her in the back. That's what happened. The man had his back up against the window, and he had burning books thrown at him. Goodness gracious. Are you suggesting that the book was thrown through a window and it landed coincidentally at the scene of the crime?
Objection!
No, a thorough investigation of the surrounding area was conducted the very evening of the incident, and there is no report of the Garadeb's window pane being broken because the window was open. That's quite true. I also saw no sign of broken glass when we visited the Garadeb household. But is it not conceivable that the window was open at the time and... Not even remotely. Let us not forget the season and the chilling weather that accompanies it. Let's not forget the incident itself, Van Zykes. I mean, I knew the season and stuff was going to be relevant because it's like it sparked my interest in that little discussion about it. It's like, that means it's going to be significant if it's making me think that. But the smoke, you need to get rid of the smoke, and the only way to get rid of it in that circumstance is the window. No Londoner would ever leave a window open in the middle of winter, but they would open it if there was a fire. Duh. Does the defense postulate this scenario in all seriousness, Counsel? Do you earnestly claim that the book found at the scene was a flaming projectile thrown by Mr. Garadeb's wife? I believe it's a possibility, my lord. Oh my, that's quite enough. It won't be necessary. Well, I hope that everyone can see you for what you are now, you little foreign trickster. You call yourself a lawyer, but you're just a coward. A mean coward. Really? Claiming that our little tiff set the whole neighborhood alight. Honestly. Implying that I'm merely posing as a maid for appearance's sake. How could you? It's nothing to do with this beastly case. Not any of it. All you've done is sully our family's name. No, I assure you that was never my intention. Dragging up an upstanding citizen's name through the mud simply to divert attention from your failing defense. I should box your ears. That's what I should do. It's utterly unforgivable. Too right. Here we go. How long have we sat here now listening to this Nipponese spouting out his fancy foreign theories? But think about it. At the end of the day, the only person who could possibly have stabbed the victim was that little hunchback with the mustache. He ran away from the scene too. I do declare you're right. It's true. Yes. What did I tell you? Makes sense to me. Sorry? What's that? Well. It would appear that the ladies and gentlemen of the jury are once again in full agreement. How do you come to that conclusion? What is your position, Lord Van Zykes? Oh, here we go. In truth, my lord, I feel these have been unnecessarily protracted proceedings. But then one must always exercise patience in order to savour the best vintage. No. Wait. The mystery of the fourth book still hasn't been... It's his boot. If books are your predilection, my learned friend, study them on your own time. What? No, forgive the discourtesy this time. No? In that case, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you will now state your individual decisions regarding the defendant's culpability for the court to hear.
Guilty!
Guilty.
Guilty.
Guilty. Guilty.
Guilty.
Oh, yes. Thank you. That's an ambiguous response. That's twice now. It's over. Mr. Naruhodo, don't give up. Miss Susato? Have you forgotten? The battle isn't over yet. You're not suggesting. Of course, the defense has the right to another summation examination at this point. You can still convince the jurors to change their minds. You have one more chance. My lord, the defense has to exercise its right to a summation examination. You believe you still have the tricks up your sleeve? I don't intend to trick anybody. I intend to uncover the truth. There's no time to be downcast. As long as there's a chance, I have to stay strong and determined. To be continued? Oh my. Let's gotta get on with it. Come on, come on, come on. Come on. Come on. Come on. Like, no, let's go, let's go. Save later. I mean, it just auto-saved anyway. Maybe it is quite, yes. I have considered the defense counsel's request for a further summation examination of the jury, and I have determined that the court must uphold the defense's judicial right to this procedure. So, counsel, you will now proceed with your second summation examination. I presume the jury is ready, Mr. Foreman? We are, my lord. Very well, and very good. In that case, I must ask each of you now to state clearly and concisely for the court the grounds on which you find the defendant guilty of this crime. Judicial findings. Alright, what we got? The juror's contentions. The accused left behind evidence at the scene, didn't he? There's 3 books of his. That's it? The 3 books? If there was some novel alternative explanation about how the victim was stabbed, I might reconsider. Okay. Even if the woman was throwing books, it can't be related to this crime if the window was closed, can it? Dearie me, it was only a little book. Hardly life-threatening, even with a direct hit. Look, I just want to get this over with. If I don't bring home some pay tonight, I'll be in a tidy bit of trouble. We need to press you, clearly. Come to think of it, that fire at home a while ago, it gave me the sneezes. Those 2 at the end clearly got to press them. Yes, considering more tangible arguments from all members of the jury this time around, it seems. What are you on about? With one notable exception, of course. Two. My learned student friend was able to find fault in the previous witness testimony. So the court must accept the fact that it was indeed the accused seen fleeing from the scene. And moreover, no one else was even at the scene to commit the crime. Well, if the eyewitnesses are correct, it would seem as if the conclusion is somewhat set in stone. I fail to see how it can be argued any other way. That means I'm afraid that during the summation examination, it's essential that you establish some other tangible explanation for the facts. But how? What even constitutes a tangible explanation here? Isn't it obvious? Who stabbed the woman, and how? Those 2 details are all you need to provide. Simply give us a name and a method by which the attack was conducted. And there I was thinking this might be hard. But Mr. Naruhodo, you have to do it. Otherwise this really will be where the trial ends. No pressure then. That's quite enough preamble. Proceed with the summation examination, please. I presume you are prepared, counsel. Oh, yes, my lord. Right, Ryu. Focus your mind now. Double. Clearly. The key to this summation examination It's going to be juror number 4, the maid. Or should I say, Mrs. Garrideb. We have a book that disappeared from the Garrideb's house on the evening of the incident. And the 4th book found in the victim's hand. There must be a way to link the two. Yes, that's what we have to find. Using every technique I've learnt in my short career so far. Whatever it takes. Don't forget to keep an eye on Mrs. Garrideb and how she reacts, even to things other people say. Alright. Jury examination. The defense's rebuttal. I want to get over to these two right here, really. Look, I just want to get this over with. If I don't bring home some pay tonight, I'll be in a tidy bit of trouble.
Hold it!
You just want to get this over with. How can you sit there and say something like that? A man's future is at stake here. Well, him and me both then, like I said before. What? I told you already, I'm a day laborer, and I don't bring home some readies with me tonight. You'll find me floating face down in the Thames tomorrow morning. What? You heard me. My missus isn't one to mess about, you know. She can be fierce, believe you me. Another shining example of marital bliss, then. A situation like this cropped up the other day. It was, well, Oh, do tell. You know, it's funny, but I can't quite remember. Sorry? Yeah, it was too frightening. That's the thing. I must have blocked it out. Helpful. I wonder if Mr. Beat be dragged into the Thames by his scarf. Don't even go there, Miss Visitor. There must be some way to jog his memory about this. Come to think of it, we had a fire at home a while ago. Gave me the sneezes.
Hold it!
Does that have anything to do with your decision about the defendant's culpability in this case? Sorry? What's that? You'll have to speak up, lad. Could you tell us more about that fire? It was last winter. My grandchildren baked me a lovely cake on my birthday. Had 75 candles on top it did. What a sight to behold it was. Put candles on a cake? Was it some kind of devil worship? Of course not. It was an angel cake. To celebrate my birthday, obviously. Seems that's a common custom here in Great Britain, Mr. Naruhodo. Anyway, I mustered all my puff to blow them out. It must have blown wrong somehow. The flames didn't go out, but candles went flying all over the room. The furniture caught, and everything went up. A place filled with smoke. Definitely sounds like devil worship to me. The smoke, Naruhodo. And by the sneezes, I presume you mean a cold? How did you catch a cold from a fire? A fiasco it was. The grandchildren, bless them, threw water over me as they tried to put out the flames. And then, because the whole room had filled up with smoke, of course, we had to open all the windows to clear it. There you go. The windows. The biting winter air rushed over me like the devil dancing on my grave it did. I caught a terrible cold from it. It put me in hospital for a while. I'd forget that birthday in a hurry. I knew it was devil worship all along. Something about this old man's story is playing on my mind for some reason. The window! We need to demonstrate who, apart from Mr. Natsumi, could attack the young woman on the street, as well as how he or she could have done it. Yes, but once again, the jurors' statements are full of personal prejudice. None of them seem convinced they're right, even at the face of logical arguments to the contrary. I think you're going to need to pit them against each other to force them to accept an alternative explanation. Yes. No necessarily need to find contradictions between their assertions, just a connection might do the trick. Alright, I'll see what I can do. If anything stands out, I'll go in for a strike. That's the spirit. The accused left behind evidence at the scene, didn't he? Those 3 books of his. There was some novel alternative explanation about how the victim was stabbed I might reconsider. Even if the woman was throwing books, it can't be related to this crime if the window was closed, can it? There we go. Let's pitch you against you.
Objection!
The two jurors' statements clearly contradict one another. I won't say they clearly contradict, but you know. They do? How exactly, counsel? Don't point at me again. I told you it wasn't me. What's that you say? Speak up, lad, speak up. Juror number 3, do you see... Oh, me? See what, sir? Did you hear juror number 6's account of his birthday celebrations last year? It seems, despite being a Londoner, he once opened his windows in the middle of winter. Well, yes, of course, because it was an emergency. I mean, obviously, if the room was filled with smoke from a fire, then you'd be mad not to open the... Oh! Exactly. On the day in question, at the time of the incident, there was a fire in the Garrideb household. And Mr. Garrideb had the following to say about it. The whole place filled with smoke.
Oh, my.
Oh, my hat. Yes? What do you have to say?
Excuse me.
Juror number 4. Do you have something to say about that? Jeez, you're drinking tea more than I do. Put some milk in it, for God's sake. Mrs. Garrideb. Oh, dearie me. What is the meaning of this? How dare you imply that I'm hiding who I really am? It's imperative that you confirm something with the court. So please, it's time to drop the pretense now. What is it? When the fire started in your house that day, did you or your husband open the window? I beg your pardon, what are you insinuating? The room would have been thick with smoke after the carpet and bookcase caught fire as they did. In a situation like that, it's inconceivable that you wouldn't have opened the window. And what if we did? Oh, all right then. Yes, you're right. My husband was frantically trying to open the window. Which can't have been easy since I continued to give him a justly deserved book battering. Even though your house was on fire. Oh, you never stop throwing until the anger subsides. It'd be terribly bad for the nerves to do otherwise. Of course, I should have realized. That's a significant step forward, Mr. Naruhodo. You've managed to establish that the window was open. We simply must have that added to Mr. Garrideb's formal statement. Now you mentioned it, yes, the window was open at the time. I'd clean forgotten, but it's true. Let's press on that one then. The 4th book found at the scene of the crime shows various obvious signs of fire damage. And the title of the book is The Lion's Pride. The same title, in fact, as the book that Mr. Garrideb told us he had been reading. Well, I really couldn't say. On the day in question, did you or did you not throw at your husband the copy of The Lion's Pride that he'd been reading? I did. It was the first thing I could lay my hands on, so I heard it straight at him. And now you come to mention it, yes. He was rather enjoying reading it, you're right. Why did you not reveal this information to the court from the outset? Because I couldn't, you insolent little man. I didn't remember. Times like that, you pick up and throw whatever you can lay your hands on, as you well know. I really don't. I barely noticed I was throwing a book.
Oh boy!
Much less the title of it. Alright.
Excuse me!
What is it, juror number 5? You know something? I've remembered what it was. That memory I'd blocked out. Ah. It was listening to what this granny was saying brought it all flooding back. Who are you calling a granny, you cheeky little devil? I'm Mrs. Garrideb, the maid, I'll have you know. The man doesn't even flinch. Please tell me that's not because he's so used to being hit all the time. It was about 2 weeks ago now. Just gotten back home after work, like. Put my hand in my pocket for the wages I just earned that day, and I nearly died. There was a hole, every last penny had dropped out. Oh dear. What a disaster. You haven't heard the half of it, boy. Oh? wife was cutting up some chicken at the time. I could hardly get the words out, but I told her straight. I've lost the day's wages, love. Next thing I knew, the blade was whistling past my ear. Stuck into the wall next to me, it did. About an inch deep. Is there a hole in the wall at the Gyarados place? No words, just terror. I could smell it then, you know? That god-awful stench of the Thames. I was sure I was going to end up face down in the muddy banks that night, I can tell you. Now, that's a real disaster, isn't it? I'll never use the word lightly again. Anyway, the point I'm trying to make is this. When women lose their rag, they'll throw anything at you. Knives, hatchets, hammers, you name it. Mr. Naruhodo, you mustn't think that all women are so short-tempered and unrefined. No, I wasn't thinking that. Throwing household objects at people is, well, it's so uncivilized. At least attack with honor. Using a bow or the like. What? Attack? Are you going to attack? Never mind. Anyway, this man's words could be rather significant, I think. Alright, we'll come back to the bow and arrow thing later. If I dare.